Hello and welcome back, friends. So today we're going to be looking at another mod. This is a free mod, and because of that, I am not going to monetize this video. So what are we reviewing today? We are reviewing the community ship expansion. So what does this do? This does exactly what you think it does. It expands the ships, and it does it with community submissions. So Downfall Nemesis is the mod author for this. He took a bunch of submissions from the community and then basically injects them into your game so they pop up in the procedural generation of space, either as friendly interactions. There's no new voice acting or anything for that. It's just replacing like ships. But there'll be new ships out there that you'll see in friendly interactions and also hostile interactions as well. So you'll see stuff for the Varun, the Ecliptic, and the Crimson Fleet. So a lot of new ships there. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the details here. So he is adding a total of 41 unique ships. They all have 3 different variants like the base game does, so it totals out to a total of 380 ships. And this is a lot of different ships to be added into your game, and this does make the procedural generation within space a lot more diverse. I'm not sure how many ships are within the base game, but this has got to be getting close to like doubling how many ships there are within the game. So a lot more diversity. One thing I am going to go ahead and note, I am playing on the Xbox Series S. I am absolutely not experiencing any kind of problems whatsoever, but the mod author did release a light version. So if you are suffering from like save file bloat, or you're running a really bulky load order, you might want to consider the light version. The light version basically cuts the count of ships in half to make it a little bit lighter on your machine. But like I said before, running this perfectly fine on the Xbox Series S, and I would probably say if you do need to run the light version, you might want to consider a Unity trip where you slim down your load order, look at things you're not using anymore, cut them out, or consider that Unity jump just to kind of fix your save file bloat. Because that might just continue to get progressively worse. But let's go ahead and kind of move on to some things you need to know. So when you first install this mod, what it's going to do is kind of like inject these ships into your save file, and that takes a few seconds, like probably 5 seconds. That was my experience, but you're going to get 2 pop-ups. You'll get like an initial pop-up, click through that, and then a second pop-up will pop up when it's done. And then basically do not do anything while it's, injecting this into your save file. Just kind of, put the controller down, let it do its thing, and then it'll be done. It's not going to do this every time you play. It just does it the initial load. So I guess to return back to this, we do have a very diverse portfolio of ships. So the mod author pulled from several different people within the community. These ships are all made with vanilla parts, so they do not clash with the aesthetic of Starfield if that's what you're concerned about. They fit in perfectly fine, but in fact, they all have different artistic styles to them and look different from one another because he's pulling from several different people within the community, and everyone has their own different artistic touches. And this just brings a lot more diversity to the procedural generation in space, in adding, a diverse portfolio of ships for you to encounter in space. I know a lot of people love to complain about the procedural generation in this game, but they always complain about running into repeat POIs. They don't ever complain about running into repeat ships. Myself, there's only so many times you can steal a Spacer Hyena 3 before you start to get bored of that activity. So adding these new ships into the procedural generation is like kind of a godsend to make this game a little bit more varietous in space. And one of my favorite activities in this game is actually stealing spaceships. So this was an absolute must download for me, and I'm very grateful that the mod author was able to bring this to us for free. This is one of those things, it absolutely builds community spirit and collaboration between both the players and the modders. And it's an absolute activity I love, and that's kind of why I am going to go ahead and put this video out. Well, it's always free, but it's going to be ad free this time, so no one's going to have to watch ads on this video, basically because I want to promote this kind of behavior. I think this is something that is good for the community as a whole, and I am more than willing to, put a video out for free, especially if I receive a mod for free. So I hope everyone does enjoy this mod. But just to continue here, I've played this for about 8 hours. I have not experienced any kind of bugs, any kind of issues, nor have I seen all the ships yet. So it's kind of a little bit of like an RNG thing. Like, you'll get the vanilla ships popping up, but intermixed with them, there's going to be these ships that are injected here. But as we're looking here, we have like a very flat design. So this is probably for people that maybe don't like ladders. Myself, I'm not a huge fan of them. I always fall down them. One thing I do like about this mod is, if you're like me and you are terrible at ship design, like, I understand the builder, I understand flip merging and all that, but everything I make ends up looking like either a turtle or a caterpillar. Getting some community ship designs added into this procedural generation gives me some more ships to kind of play with, because I'm a lot better at taking another ship and tweaking it and touching it than building a ship from scratch. So this is an absolute godsend for me, where I get a whole 41 new ships to kind of play with and have fun with, and take a look at and see how I can modify them, tweak them, and see what I can do with them. So I really do appreciate this kind of activity from both the modders and the community itself, and I very much hope it does continue, because this is one of those things, it does bolster community spirit, and helping um, modders and players collaborate and communicate together, which is really important, that both the players and the modders are collaborating and communicating together, because at the end of the day, basically clear communication with players to modders kind of helps us, or helps the modders figure out what do the players exactly want out of mods. So this is a great activity that does kind of bolster that. One thing I'm going to probably note here is these ships are a little bit more beefy in their firepower opposed to the vanilla ships, which is one of those things I liked about this, because it did provide a lot more difficult challenge when I was trying to like steal and hijack these ships. It's not quite as easy as like the vanilla ships. They offer a lot more a lot more firepower, and I really do like the design of a lot of these ships. I think a lot of them are extremely aesthetically pleasing, so the community's done a very good job of designing these ships, and Downfall Nemesis has done an awesome job at bringing us this mod. I experienced no issues whatsoever with this. I was able to steal several different ships. I didn't have like any kind of bugs where I was like falling through the floor or anything like that. Everything seemed to work perfectly fine. The ships were cluttered well. And well designed at the same time. And, they fit the aesthetic of Starfield, which is one of those things like I really do care about, because I know some people, they love Star Wars and they want to make Starfield's Star Wars. Perfectly fine by you, but I like to keep my Starfield as Starfield, and experience Starfield. So I absolutely loved and enjoyed this mod, and I would absolutely recommend it to anyone. This is, like I said, I've played this for 8 hours so far, but this is one of those mods that I'm going to keep in my load order basically forever, because it solves one of those problems around procedural generation, which, if you've ever seen any of my load orders, procedural generation is one of those things I consider a priority in my load order. That and like gameplay overhauls. So procedural generation kind of like takes a front spot in how I build out my load order because I think it's one of the things that the base game is lacking in, but we do have a lot of mod solutions to address this, and this is one of those ones that does address it, and it addresses it within space, opposed to the moon surface or whatever, planet side, I guess we would call it. I have a lot of solutions for that already in my load order, but I don't have many solutions for space. And getting this kind of solution for space, uh, really important to me, and I absolutely enjoy it. Um, I do want to say thank you for to the mod author for bringing this to us and the community that was able to submit their builds and help me out with my problem of not being able to build good ships. But like always, please enjoy your night.